Army, are you ready? March 21st, 2026, 8 p.m. Korean time. Gwangwon Square, Seoul, one of the most historic public spaces in all of Asia, transformed into an ocean of light. 260,000 people packed the streets. And behind their Netflix screens, over 18 million pairs of eyes around the world held their breath. Then, 7 figures stepped out. RM Jin, Suga, Jhope, Jimin, V Jungkook, BTS, back, after nearly 4 years. And among those 7 members, there was one name on everyone's lips. One performer whose presence that night made the whole world stop turning. One person who needed only to stand on a stage to make millions of people cry. Park Jimin. In this video, we're covering everything, from BTS's historic comeback and the record-shattering album Ararang, to the Jimin moments that had ARMY all over the world unable to sleep for days. If you're ready, let's go. Before we get to Jimin, we need to rewind. Because this comeback was never just BTS releasing new music. This was the conclusion of a long, sacrificial journey. Starting in 2022, BTS members entered mandatory military service one by one, a requirement for every South Korean male citizen. Jin went first in 2022, followed by Jhope, RM, V, Jimin, and Jungkook. And the last to complete his service was Suga, who was finally discharged in June 2025. For nearly 4 years, ARMY around the world waited. Not just for new music, but for the moment all 7 of them would stand together on one stage again. And Jimin? He was anything but idle during that time. His solo album Muse, released in 2024, was a massive hit, debuting at number 2 on the Billboard 200. One spot from the top. Think about that. A solo artist, not a full group, nearly reaching the highest position on the most prestigious music chart in the world. After completing his military service alongside Jungkook in June 2025, Jimin jumped straight back into action as a global brand ambassador for Dior, the French luxury fashion house he has represented since January 2023. He attended Paris Fashion Week in September 2025, looked absolutely stunning, and became a worldwide trending topic within hours. This is not just a K-pop idol. This is a global icon. Then, on January 4th, 2026, Big Hit Music announced what the entire world had been waiting for: BTSComeback. 5th album, World Tour. ARMY exploded. Weber's servers went down. Twitter, or X, whatever we're calling it, crashed. And social media globally lit up like a fireworks show. Now let's talk about the album itself, because Ararang is something truly special. BTS's 5th studio album takes its name from a centuries-old Korean folk song, often regarded as the country's unofficial national anthem. And for those who may not know, Ararang is a song steeped in meaning. It speaks of separation, longing, and emotional resilience, themes that feel deeply personal for both BTS and the ARMY who shared these long years of waiting alongside them. Big Hit Music stated that the album captures BTS's identity as a group that began in Korea, and you feel that in every single track. Ararang contains 14 songs and was recorded starting in July 2025, right after the members began reuniting following their military discharge. On November 1st, 2025, it was Jimin himself who announced on Weverse that the album was finished and ready to go. Fans, naturally, lost their minds. The tracklist is wildly diverse. Body to Body opens the album with a sample of the traditional folk song itself. Hooligan is packed with energy, featuring Jimin and V's vocals, which critics described as soaring and powerful. And then there's Swim, the title track, a modern anthem that climbed all the way to number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100. The numbers speak for themselves. On its first day alone, Ararang sold nearly 4 million copies on the hallyu chart, breaking BTS's own previous record. On Spotify, the album racked up 110 million streams in a single day, the most first-day streams for any 2026 album. On the Billboard 200, it debuted at number 1 with 641,000 album equivalent units in its first week. This wasn't just a comeback. This was a declaration that BTS never really left. Alright, now we get to the part you've all been waiting for. The concert. March 21st, 2026. BTS staged their comeback show, BTS The Comeback Live Ararang, at Gwangwoman Square in Seoul. And this was no ordinary venue. Gwangwoman Square is one of the most historically significant public spaces in all of Korea, home to statues of King Sejong, who created the Korean Hangul alphabet, and Admiral Lee Sun-shin, one of Korea's greatest military heroes. That night, for the very first time in history, a standalone concert was held there. The show was streamed live and exclusively on Netflix, the first time Netflix had ever broadcast a concert as a real-time live stream rather than a pre-recorded film. The result? 18.4 million viewers tuned in globally. The concert entered Netflix's top 10 in 80 countries and hit number 1 in 24 of them. Let that sink in. Over 18 million people. From Indonesia, from Brazil, from Nigeria, from Sweden, all sitting down together to watch BTS come home. The concert opened with 50 dancers performing in formation on the upper terrace of the majestic Gyeongbokgung Palace, then splitting apart to form a pathway. And through that pathway, all 7 members of BTS walked out, one by one. RM stepped to the mic and delivered the line every single ARMY had been waiting years to hear. "Hello, Seoul." Gwangwoman erupted. The setlist blended new tracks from Ararang with beloved classics. Butter and Dynamite both made appearances, bringing a wave of nostalgia that hit like a tidal wave. RM had to remain seated for portions of the show due to an ankle injury sustained during rehearsal, but even sitting down, his charisma and energy filled every corner of that square. The concert was directed by Hamish Hamilton, the British director behind the Super Bowl halftime show and the Oscars. And Hamilton himself described it as one of the most logistically challenging productions he has ever taken on. And now, it's time to talk about Jimin. Among all the incredible moments that night, and there were many, Jimin's performance was the one most talked about, most clipped, most shared across TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram around the world. Why? Because Jimin didn't just perform. Jimin showed up, with every part of himself, every ounce of emotion, every bit of strength he had spent 4 years quietly building. The first moment that stopped the world was when Jimin stepped to the front of the stage and spoke directly to the crowd. With a voice that trembled, not from nerves, but from emotion too large to contain, he told the audience, "The fact that I am speaking here, I am so moved. All 7 of us standing on stage together makes me so happy. Thank you all so much. You have filled Gwangwoman Square today." Those words were simple, but spoken by someone who had spent 4 years separated from the stage he loves, for years living far from the spotlight, for years of longing. Those words landed like a quiet earthquake in the chest of every person who heard them. All over the world, ARMY cried. In the Netflix comments, on Twitter, in fan group chats from Jakarta to London to Los Angeles. The same tears, all at once. Then came Hooligan, one of the tracks where Jimin and V carry the largest vocal weight. Music critics describe their voices on this song as soaring, rising up and filling the night air above Gwangwoman with a power that's nearly impossible to put into words. Jimin performed with total precision, his movements sharp, his expression controlled, yet radiating an intensity that stayed with you long after the song ended. No excess, no gimmicks, just Jimin, his voice, and a body trained for years to do exactly this. One critic wrote that watching Jimin on stage that night felt like watching someone who was simply born to be there. Not just talented, truly destined for that moment. And then there was the third moment that went the most viral, Jimin's visuals throughout the entire night. BTS wore flowing, monochromatic outfits that evening, elegant, soft silhouettes that moved beautifully under the stage lights. And Jimin, with his blonde hair now slightly longer than before, his cheekbones and jawline already a conversation of their own on the internet, looked like a living, breathing work of art. ARMY flooded Twitter with screenshots from the Netflix stream. Every frame of Jimin became someone's wallpaper. Every expression was analyzed. Fans called him Prince Eric, a reference to the Disney character from The Little Mermaid. And not without reason. On April 1st, 2026, Jimin posted photos of himself aboard a sailing ship, wearing a white lace corset shirt, looking every bit like a prince stepping straight out of a fairy tale. The petition for Jimin to be cast as Prince Eric in a live-action film? Trending again. Still. And then there was one detail that made everyone admire him even more. Just a few days before the concert, on March 25th, Jimin posted gym photos alongside V. both in workout gear, taking mirror selfies. But tucked among those photos was one image that immediately went viral. A photo of a scale reading 59.7 kilograms. Jimin was deep in a strict diet regimen ahead of the Ararang World Tour, and fans understood instantly. Every kilogram reflected a level of dedication that never stops, even behind the scenes, even when no cameras are watching. Why is BTS still working this hard? One Korean netizen wrote. That tweet was retweeted millions of times. And the answer was right there, in every single movement Jimin made on that stage on the night of March 21st. After the concert ended, the world didn't calm down. If anything, it got louder. Across every social media platform, hashtags tied to BTS and Ararang exploded. BTS is back, trended at #1 in more than 50 countries simultaneously. Jimin's name entered the top 5 trending on X within minutes of the concert ending. Fan communities around the world were among the most active that night. Thousands of live-watching sessions were held, in dorm rooms, apartments, cafes, and living rooms, from Asia to Europe to the Americas. Reaction videos and tearful fan clips flooded TikTok and YouTube as people captured the moment they cried when Jimin spoke to the crowd. Analysts were equally stunned. Kim Yoo-hyuk, an analyst at Seoul-based IBK Investment and Securities, estimated that BTS's comeback would generate at least 2.9 trillion Korean won, approximately $1.93 billion US, a figure that could potentially rival Taylor Swift's $2 billion Eras tour earnings. The economic ripple effect was real and immediate. Tourism to Seoul spiked. Hybe, BTS's label, saw positive market reactions. BTS merchandise, from physical albums to light sticks, sold out almost instantly worldwide. And on March 27th, Netflix released BTS: The Return, a documentary directed by Bong Joon, whose credits include The Greatest Night in Pop. The film follows BTS from the moment they reunited in Los Angeles to begin recording Ararang, capturing the intimate, private moments we had never seen before. The hugs after years apart, the tears when they heard their new songs played back for the very first time. And Jimin, as always, was at the center of some of the most emotional moments in the entire film. This is far from over, guys. This is just the beginning. As of April 9th, 2026, BTS has launched the BTS World Tour Ararang, the biggest tour in their entire history. A total of 79 to 82 shows across 34 cities, spanning 5 continents, running from April 2026 all the way through March 2027. The tour opens at Goyang Stadium in South Korea for 3 consecutive nights, then heads to Tokyo, before crossing the Pacific to North America, Latin America, Europe, the Asia-Pacific region, and Australia. In the United States alone, they are scheduled to perform in multiple major cities, including 4 nights at SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles. In Latin America, this tour will mark BTS's first ever performances in several cities they have never visited before. And ARMY? They bought tickets before a single song was even released. Every North American and European date sold out within minutes. Will there be stops in Southeast Asia and more? That's the question on everyone's mind. As of today, no official dates for the region have been announced, but ARMY around the world isn't giving up hope, and the campaign to get BTS to add more cities to the map is very much alive. Guys, the BTS comeback isn't just an album or a concert. It's proof that some things are absolutely worth waiting for. That 4 years of patience can end with something more beautiful than anything you ever imagined. And that Jimin, with all of his dedication, all of the beauty he brings to every stage he steps onto, is one of the most powerful reasons why BTS isn't just a band. They are a phenomenon that cannot be replaced. So to every ARMY who waited faithfully all this time, you deserve this moment. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss what's coming next. Drop a comment below. Which moment from the BTS comeback hit you the hardest? I genuinely want to know. See you in the next one. Sarangi ARMY, Purple Heart.